Okay, I'm back to talk about the Yaesu FTM-200DR, and I'm just going to give a rundown of the buttons on the front. There's a lot of functionality here, but it can be a little daunting at first if you aren't familiar with some of the terms and way that Yaesu abbreviates things. So of course we're looking at a nice screen that has two channels on it, the A and B, and you can see them, the A and the B there on the left top and the left bottom. And that indicates the fact that we're going to be able to watch two different frequencies at one time, or listen to both of them depending on how you have it configured. And there's of course a lot of other little symbols and different things on here that we'll go through as we give a little walkthrough of this particular radio. So I'm going to start with the left side, and we'll work our way across. Of course, right here we're looking at the volume button, and does what you expect it to do. There's really no other functionality to it. Going up here, this one kind of confused me for a while, but I think once you think about it, it does make a lot of sense. It first of all triggers the memory versus VFO mode, mode where you can just walk through. And then another little thing here is this button over on the right functions as a selector too. So if you push it one time, notice how that starts blinking. It allows you to move through the frequencies a little bit faster compared to without that. If you're going to have to go a ways, it's going to take a while because you're very slowly walking through those frequencies. So it switches between those two modes with this button here, either your memories or VFO. Now below it says MW, which means memory write. So if we're over here in VFO and we wanted to program this frequency in, then you hold this button and it brings you to the first available frequency channel that I have not written to. Now you don't have to just write or overwrite a memory. You can also use that as a way to get in here to modify one of your memories. So again, you're going to use the selector button on the bottom right, and you can see you can either recall, write, edit, or delete. And if you go into edit, then you can do stuff like add a tag, which you can see here. I put the call sign of the repeater for this particular frequency, and I add a little bit of information. You see there with the word Faribault, which is a town here in Minnesota. And then below that, this is scan, which means if I go into a scan of my memories, I can either opt to keep it in or take it out of that scan list. There are some repeaters in our area here that there's something going wrong with them. It's silent, but it's open. So the scan will constantly stop on that even though there's no traffic there. So I've taken it out of the scan for now. And then we're going to hit this button down here. That will take me out of there because I'm not actually going to do anything with that. So you can see select, back. So that allows you to back out of menu options that you've chosen. And now we're back into memory mode for both. And we're going to look at this AB button right here. It'll be pretty obvious to you once you see what happens if you type it. So if you want to modify the frequency that B channel is listening to, you got to bring it up to the top, and then you can cycle through using this to, rotating. I'm rotating obviously in memories right now, but that would apply to VFO mode as well. Then you can drop it back down here. So a really handy thing to do with the B channel is put it in APRS mode and then drop it down, and you can continue chatting or listening on the A channel while you're recording beacons from APRS. So we're going to go ahead and swap back now. Below the AB button is the GM button. So GM mode is a group monitoring mode that I'm not currently doing a lot with. I have not had a chance to test, but you're able to trigger it with that button right there. And then below is the DX button, which will allow you to cycle through the different transmit modes that are available. Obviously some of those are digital and I'm not currently using them, but that is part of that functionality. Not only does it trigger digital modes, but it also allows you to cycle through. Now, if you look at the FM right there, obviously frequency modulation, you'll see that depending on how you have it configured, a little line over top of the FM. That means the radio will choose whether you're going to transmit in digital or analog, and it'll do that based on what it's hearing from a repeater that you happen to be talking to. Now below the DX button, very obvious, says on, but it also has another little function there. If you push it once, you will lock, so you don't have inadvertent button presses that will modify settings when you don't want that to happen. And then you just push it again to trigger on out of that. Okay, we're going to move over to the right side now, and we're going to see the menu button. Seems obvious at first, but there's an extra function there that I want to show you. One push will get you to a quick menu here, and you can see various options available. And a lot of these can be modified, and you can find that in one of my other videos. Of course, you hit the back button, you can get right on and back out of there. But if you push and hold it, you're going to get to the menu that has all the functions that you can modify. And there's 124 in this list. So don't get fooled when you get to a spot like this and it says 16. It looks like that's kind of the end of the road. That's absolutely not the case. It just shows them by page. Now, it can seem daunting when you look at this, but what you need to keep in mind when you're looking at this is there's a little cheat here at the top. It says memory right now, but as you go down, notice that changes, what area of the menu you're in by what you're seeing there at the top. So you can see audio, and I use this one quite a bit, record, stop. If I want to be able to come back later, I'm in my car and I don't want to try and write anything down, I will record so I can log any contacts I make. Signaling, here's where you're going to get your CT, CSS tones and different things like that, depending on what the repeater you're trying to reach is requiring. Scan, obviously, you can modify a number of things there. Digital, obvious, here's your group monitor settings. Wires X, data. If you're going to connect to the computer, APRS. So you can just see how that works. One of the things I wish they had done differently is SD card and some of the options down here I find myself using, but they're at the very, very bottom, so I gotta go down a long ways before I find them. All right, so we've seen that. We had a little bit of chance to get a sense of how that works. We're going to hit the back button here and go back. And now we're going to get down to the PMG button, which I really like. This allows you to select up to four memories that you're going to monitor. Allows you to see what's actually happening. So if you move off the channel there where it's actually we're getting a transmit, you can see that there's something happening there. So if I'm monitoring the 14545, I could look down quickly and notice that my other memory, there's some traffic there and I may want to move over to it. You notice too that depending on how I have this configured, it will scan an auto, which you can see right there. So it'll automatically move me right to the frequency that's transmitting. Or if I push that again, I can move off the transmitting frequency without the auto picking up and moving me right back over there. So super nice. And then we are down to our display. This is one of my favorite features. Right now we are looking at a rudimentary waterfall-like display. So you can see that stuff's actually happening in certain frequencies. And of course that's the channel that's having a net right now. And they're doing a little news broadcast as I record this. And this is a repeater in our area that for some reason is transmitting silence, but the thing is open all the time. So I'm not really sure what that's all going on there and what that's all about, but you can see, we can get a quick sense of what's going on the frequencies that I have put in memory. And you just push that one more time and it gets you right back out of that mode. In the very bottom, we've looked at this button already, but it also has one other function, and that is the squelch. And you can modify that up and down just with one push here and then pushing this back, moving this dial back and forth to select what you want. And pushing back will your squelch selection into practice. A couple more things to look at. The very top there, you'll notice that it says log. That means the GPS function has been engaged and it will log as you are mobile. And then next to that it says SD. That means I've got a micro SD card slotted and I can use that to record all the settings, record memories, record pictures, and record messages that come in. And then finally we are up to band group. Notice here at the very top it says M all. That means that we're looking at memories for all the channels, whether they're in VHF or UHF, and this will allow you to narrow that selection. So now we're looking at channels and it'll drop me into VHF. If I push it again, it'll cycle up to UHF, and cycle again, it'll do all. So you can kind of move through and change that depending on what you're wanting to do. So there's a little run through of the front panel. Hopefully that helps you in your ham journey navigate your way through this particular radio. And if you enjoyed, leave me a like, and hopefully we'll see you next time.